please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
The day's trading action, where it was another volatile day on the Lal Street. A last hour dip pushing the benchmark indices into negative territory. The Nifty breaching the 10,700 mark, ending 39 points in the red. The Sensex also closed with losses. The only silver lining was in the form of gains on the bank Nifty. Midcaps continued their underperformance, ending with losses of more than 1%. But the top story this evening, the shares of Hindustan Construction Company, or HCC, plummeted by over 25% in trade today. This is the worst intraday fall that the stock has seen in a decade. This after auditors of HCC and group company Lavasa Corporation raised significant doubts over the company's financial health. Now, how serious are the audit observations and what does this mean for HCC going forward? Our colleague Anisha Jain standing by with the details. Anisha, what are the concerns the auditors are raising?
Okay, HCC was down about in trade around 25%. That after the auditors raised red flag regarding one of the group companies, which is Lavasa Corporation. Now, to put things into perspective, Lavasa has been in SDR since 2017, has been a subsidiary of HCC. Now, as of end of Q2, HCC owned around 70% of Lavasa Corporation. They had been working on a debt restructuring deal to bring down the debt and convert it into equity and bring their stake down to around 35%. We have been hearing a lot from the management, but nothing really worked out. And now we hear from the auditors that they have raised red flag and they have some qualifications as far as Lavasa is concerned. First up, they say that they owe some amount to the lenders to the tune of around 2,000-3,000 odd crores, but they haven't got direct confirmation from the lenders, and that's the reason they cannot vouch for that outstanding number. Secondly, they mentioned that there is some capital work in progress worth around 1,200 crores that has been the carrying value in the book, but they again say that they have no way to confirm that carrying value, and hence they cannot vouch whether that 1,200 crores should appear as an asset in the company's book or not. And lastly, they also mentioned that the supervisory and financial control of the company is weak. Now, the other observations that they make is that the net worth of some of the subsidiaries has been fully or significantly eroded, as well as the liabilities exceeding the assets over 2,000 odd crores. The auditors also mentioned that because of all of this, there's material uncertainty about company's ability as a going concern, and that is evident in the numbers as well. Because if you look at the FY18 performance, the revenue came down from 610 crores to 159 crores, and the losses have expanded to over 600 crores versus a 160 crore number reported last year. So this clearly has been a pain point for HCC. They have clarified and said that they're working with the bankers, but as of now, no resolution. Back to you.
Anisha, appreciate you joining us. So we've seen several observations being raised by auditors across different companies. Today, HCC was down 25% in trade on account of a red flag being raised by auditors. Now, the GST Council is likely to consider levying a sugar cess of up to 5% when it meets tomorrow. And ahead of that meeting, cnbc TV 18 learns that some states are not on board with that idea. Timsy Jaipuria joins us now. Timsy, which are the states that are opposed to the idea of a sugar cess? Also take us through the other items on the GST Council's agenda. What could be discussed tomorrow?
Well, it's a packed agenda for the GST Council this time. Starting from sugar cess, what we understand from sources that the council is going to deliberate upon whether to levy a sugar cess or not. Today in the officers' meeting, states are divided and the council does not seem to have any unanimity on application of this sugar cess. Now, the proposal is, the idea behind levying a sugar cess is that to compensate the farmers and the sugar manufacturers. But the states which are non-sugarcane growing states, they have opposed this. For example, Assam, Tripura, etc. They're saying that this would mean cross-subsidization, and they are not in favor of levying any other cess. Not just this, the council is also going to deliberate upon the idea to incentivize digital transactions. Up to 2% of instant cashback is what government is mulling, capping at 100 rupees. That is, a consumer can avail only a maximum of 100 rupees of cashback per transaction. Not just this, the council is also going to talk about GST and conversion from a private entity to a public entity. Under this proposal, government is going to take a decision on converting 100% stake into a public entity, where 50% will be held by the government, central government, and 50% by the states. Not just this, the council is also going to deliberate upon and give an in-principle nod to the broad principles and agenda points of forming a new simplified return firm. A GOM headed by Sushil Modi is going to submit its report, which is a fusion model of what Nandan Nilekani suggested and what tax administrators were suggesting. So let's see what actually comes ahead of the GST Council. But yes, it's a packed agenda.
All right, we'll be watching out for those developments. Timsy, appreciate you joining us. Remember, the GST Council meets at about 11:30 tomorrow morning. It's expected to be a shorter meeting, so stay tuned to CNBC TV 18. We'll be tracking the action. Now, the Supreme Court today disagreed with the government's argument on the Aadhaar mobile linkage controversy. Concluding its submission before the Constitution Bench, Attorney General K.K. Venugopal argued that the Telecom Department had issued orders on Aadhaar-based eKYC for verification of new subscribers and re-verification of existing subscribers as per the direction of the Supreme Court. The court, though, said it had issued no such direction. Ashmit joins us now with the details. So, Ashmit, the government concluding its arguments in the Aadhaar matter, but refusing to back down on the issue of eKYC and linkage of Aadhaar to mobile phones, and the court saying, well, that's not what we told you to do.
So we've all received messages from our respective telecom companies asking us to link our Aadhaar cards with the mobile numbers. The question being asked is, under what authority did the government direct the telecom companies to do so? The government claims it was acting on the directions of the Apex Court. The Supreme Court, however, has clarified it never issued such directions. The government has responded by saying, yes, it did. That's broadly the sum and substance of the arguments that we are seeing today, that we saw today before the Apex Court. The Attorney General, in response to the rebuke by the Apex Court that we never issued such directions, has clarified that the DOT has come out with a direction to the telcos that Aadhaar needn't be made mandatory. So as of right now, AG clarifying the position, Aadhaar is indeed not mandatory. The AG also clarifying that at least as of right now, at least for issuance of fresh SIM cards, Aadhaar is optional at least until final orders are passed by the Apex Court. The Attorney General also saying that Aadhaar, confirming the position of the government that Aadhaar was added indeed as a form of KYC as per Supreme Court directions, the reference being made to a February 2017 order, and that is what the Attorney General argued. What's also interesting is that the AG also argued that as a part of interim orders, as a part of affidavits that were filed by the government, it was amply clear to the Supreme Court then that it was indeed a scheme that was being contemplated by the government. So that's the position that the AG has taken as of right now. The AG went on to add that it will rule out forgery, fraud, will address security concerns. But this is where, interestingly, the Supreme Court responded. The arguments didn't cut much ice with the Apex Court. The Supreme Court making its disagreement quite clear. The Supreme Court saying that, as per their understanding, no directions were passed to that effect. The Apex Court also questioning that as far as the Lokniti case is concerned, it was about a petitioner seeking the Aadhaar linkage. It was about the government agreeing to that petition, agreeing to that prayer. But in the middle, the Apex Court did not pass any directions. And the Apex Court, at least by way of these observations, standing firm on that position. So as of right now, the government, by way of these submissions, has concluded its case, concluded its arguments in the Aadhaar dispute. The onus now rests on the petitioners to come back with a rejoinder, and expect around this time next week for them to conclude, and that's when we can expect the Apex Court to perhaps reserve its judgment, but that's for a later date. For now, the government standing firm that it was acting under Supreme Court orders. Back to you.
All right, Ashmit, appreciate you joining us with that. But the big newsmaker today, the Congress party needs an intelligent coalition if it hopes to form the government in 2019. That's the word from senior leader and member of the Rajya Sabha, Jairam Ramesh. In an exclusive interview with me, the MP from Karnataka remains confident about the Congress party retaining power in his home state. He called the upcoming elections in the state a watershed moment for Indian politics. On the economy, Ramesh had a one-word answer on whether the Congress will privatize PSU banks if it comes to power, a capital NO. The architect of the UPA government's Land Acquisition Act, Ramesh, spoke out against some state governments attempting to dilute the laws, calling it retrograde. He even went on to accuse the current government's decision on land acquisition for the bullet train project, which he believes does not have consensus of all stakeholders. Is the Congress ready to play pivot, which means also to be able to reach out to these political parties and perhaps cede some ground?
Well, we did it in 2004. We had pre-poll alliances in 2004.
Are we likely to see pre-poll alliances?
We already have. What do you mean? That's an academic. I mean, we already have pre-poll alliances. I've given you an example. We've had a pre-poll alliance in Jharkhand. We've had a pre-poll alliance in Maharashtra. We always have pre-poll alliances in Kerala. You know, the Kerala is the UDF versus the LDF. So we have had a pre-poll alliance in Tamil Nadu. You know, in previous elections. So the Congress has given up See, in 1998, when we had our Pachmandi conclave, we took the stand that the Congress is the natural party of governance, and therefore we will not get into any alliances. By 2003, in Simla, Mrs. Sonia Gandhi had changed that mindset and said, no, we are open for alliances with like-minded progressive forces, and that's what enabled us to come to power in 2004. So ideally, I would like the Congress to get 272 on its own. But you know, one has to be realistic. You know, the prospect of the Congress getting 272 on its own, barring a tsunami in our favor, doesn't seem to be on the cards in 2019. So we have to have an intelligent coalition, which we had in 2004. You know, the Congress party is a center-left party. Okay, it's a center-left party. The Congress party is a party that believes in the public sector, and thank God for that. But it is the Congress party that brought in the private banks. You're raising the issue of banking. Yes. Do we believe in privatization of banks? No. Do we believe in greater private participation in the banking sector? Yes. We are the you know, party that first started the ball rolling for entry of private players into the insurance industry. Do we believe in privatizing LIC? No. Do we believe in privatizing the big ONGCs and the BHALs and the steel authorities? No. Under any circumstances. No. N-O.
So what is the plan then as far as possible strategic disinvestment is concerned? Is that a no?
I mean, these are all, you know, words, strategic. Why don't you come out and say privatize?
Okay, privatization.
We don't believe in privatization of banks. We don't. We will not.
Consolidation?
Private banks will expand. Obviously, we don't want to stop private banks from expanding. Consolidation? Maybe. I mean, you know, this notion that we must have 6 banks or 7 banks, who has come up with this formula? We must have only 6 or 7 banks. So, I mean, these are, you know, these are issues that have to be discussed very seriously. But I can assure you, no Congress government is going to privatize a bank.
Well, that's Jairam Ramesh, senior Congress leader and Rajya Sabha MP from Karnataka, on the Congress's electoral possibilities in the state, confident that they will come back to power in the state of Karnataka, as well as the economic narrative that the Congress will take forward ahead of the elections. On to a CNBC TV 18 exclusive news break. Now, Tata Group's big defense rejig could be underway. We learned from sources that Tata Motors held an unscheduled board meeting today to discuss hiving off its defense business, or at least streamlining its defense business. Nisha Podar joins us now with the details. Nisha, this is a story that we've been pursuing. We understand that there was an unscheduled board meeting of Tata Motors that took place a short while ago. What are you hearing?
That's right, Shireen. That particular board meeting announcement is expected very soon. And what we do gather is that there is every possibility that there could be an announcement to its effect to the defense play of the Tata Group. Now, remember, under N. Chandra as the chairman of Tata Sons, there are various cluster formations that he is really looking at forming, and defense play is the first one. In fact, under that one, Tata Power has already decided to hive off. That board meeting has already been approved already, and Tata Motors is the next one which has to really come out and say one arm of the defense play will be hived off. But here, one thing very important to remember is that they are also into specialized vehicles, which also goes into defense play, and that is a huge revenue churner for Tata Motors. So that is likely to be retained by Tata Motors, is what we gather from sources. Of course, final announcement is expected very soon.
All right, Nisha, appreciate you joining us. As I said, that this is a story that we've been pursuing, and the board meeting at Tata Motors to discuss streamlining its defense operations concluded a short while ago, is what we're given to understand. Now, as many as over 80 people have been killed after heavy rains and dust storms wreaked havoc in parts of UP and Rajasthan. A dust storm killed over 60 people in UP, with Agra witnessing the highest casualties, and over 30 people died and over 100 were injured as the storm hit Alwar, Bharatpur and Dholpur districts in Rajasthan. A banyan tree fell, leading to chaos and damage in the Alwar market. Today, Keshav Prasad Maurya, Deputy Chief Minister of UP, announced that the state will compensate for the losses, and the announcement will come in soon.
पूरी संवेदना है, पूरी सहानुभूति है, और सरकार पूरी तरह से उन परिवारों के साथ खड़ी है जो लोगों की निजी क्षति हुई है, संपत्तियों को नुकसान हुआ है, उसका आकलन करके जितनी जल्दी हो सके उनके मुआवजे के वितरण का भी निर्देश दिया गया है।
Well, almost 100 injured and 80 dead on account of that storm. Now, time for a quick break, but coming up next, the Narendra Modi government faces serious hurdles in getting the bullet train project to move forward. What are the roadblocks? We'll tell you when we return. The Modi government is facing hurdles in getting the bullet train project to move forward, and these are not restricted to problems with just land acquisition. CNBC TV 18's Ashpreet Sethi joins us now with more details. Ashpreet, what is the main grievance that farmers and landowners are putting forward when it comes to acquisition of land for the bullet train project?
Well, the Prime Minister's pet project seems to be in a fix for now, with hurdles related to farmer protests, political opposition, and even the fact that land acquisition has been one of the main concerns. The bullet train project has hit a roadblock, with farmers beginning their protests in a district in Maharashtra, which will be taken to other districts, and even Gujarat. Now, why are farmers protesting? Their main demands are: give us fair compensation for the land that you will be taking. Remember, over 200 villages will be affected in the two states. Now, the National Speed Rail Corporation has said that they will be setting aside 10,000 crore rupees as the acquisition cost for 1,400 hectares. Now, they've also raised objections to the short notice for stakeholders meetings, and farmers have said that how states are not taking their consent before deciding the compensation amount. Now, sources tell us that the Prime Minister's office has asked the Project Monitoring Committee to oversee the whole process. In fact, the government will be holding chai pe charcha or tea sessions to allay whatever fears that the owners have, which will begin on May 5th.
All right, Ashpreet, we'll see you again on India Business Hour with more on that story, so stay tuned for more developments. The government has not handed over the Red Fort to the Dalmia Group. That is the word in from the Minister of State for Tourism, KJ Alphonse. Defending the government's decision taken under the Adopt a Heritage scheme, the minister asserted the Dalmia Group's only responsibility under this scheme would be to provide basic amenities at the Mughal-era fort. Take a listen.
See, number one, we have not given the Red Fort to Dalmias. If you look at the MOU, what does the Dalmia get? It's very clearly laid out. Dalmia does not enter the monument at all. So the question of giving the Red Fort to Dalmias doesn't arise. So what we have done is, as per the MOU, there are certain things which will be permitted to be done by the monument Mitra, in this case Dalmias. See, they will clean the area, they ensure that the area is completely spotless. Number two, they will provide drinking water, they will provide toilets, they will provide Wi-Fi, they will provide seating arrangements, maybe a light and sound show. So these are some of the things, and these are very, very clearly spelled out in the MOU, which is in the public domain. Our monuments, surrounding the monuments, are in a complete mess. I was in Agra Day Forest today. I've been to a whole lot of monuments. It's a complete mess. India gets only 10 million tourists a year. This was a count last year, which was a dramatic increase from the previous year. We grew by 15.67% against a global growth of 5%, which is dramatic. But look at the other countries. Spain gets 85 million tourists. France gets 75 million. US gets 75 million people. We have 100 times better monuments and more valuable monuments than any of these countries. This government is in a huge hurry. We want to produce results. We want employment to be created. We want the whole world to come and see India. That is how the economy will move.
Well, that is the tourism minister. And staying with the Red Fort controversy, the chairman of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Transport, Tourism and Culture, Derek O'Brien, has spoken to CNBC TV 18. He says the tourism ministry presented the Adopt a Heritage scheme, and that standing committee expressed serious reservations. This was in February of 2018. He also added that the committee asked for a pilot scheme, and the tourism ministry never came back with a response, and hence the committee was surprised to see this development with the Dalmias getting the Red Fort. But on to the news break that we just told you about a short while ago. It has now been confirmed. It is official. Tata Motors has decided to transfer its defense and aerospace business of the company to Tata Advanced Systems Limited. So as we told you, this is part of N. Chandrasekharan's efforts to try and streamline the defense businesses across the group. So it is now Tata Motors. The board of Tata Motors has decided to transfer the defense and aerospace business of the company's subsidiary to Tata Advanced Systems Limited. So that is the latest development. As we told you, our colleague Nisha Poddar had broken that story, and the official confirmation has just come in now from Tata Motors. We will have to wrap up this edition of CNBC TV 18's What's Hot, but stay tuned. Another volatile day on the Lal Street. The market action on Markets Today talk back when we return. We'll see you again in just a bit on India Business Hour.